one thing that's becoming somewhat of a concern, and that is misinformation that's being posted on social media sites. It is important to note that we have discussed with federal authorities that these issues are crimes. They will be investigated statewide and federally, and prosecution will take place when people perpetrating this information are identified. Again, all information relative to this case is coming from these microphones, so any of that information and people that are putting that information up there in any manner, all right, that can be construed as a violation of state or federal law will be prosecuted, will be investigated and prosecuted.
I've just read his Facebook page and matched the picture, and in fact, he is 24 years old. He lives in Hoboken, New Jersey. He's from Newtown, Connecticut.
You know, one of the things we're finding out now that we do have his name, the shooter's name, again, Ryan Lanza, he had a Facebook page.
On Facebook, we understand that Ryan Lanza is calling himself a Hoboken resident. All we know is this was tied to him.
They are searching the house where this suspect is from, believed to be Ryan Lanza, and that he went up to where his mom worked in Newtown as a kindergarten teacher.
Did you add a first name just now?
I did. Well, the name I have from three sources is Ryan Lanza.
Okay.
It's all from one law enforcement source. It is a very good source, but I just want to.
We were listening there again to Jonathan Dienst, the chief investigative reporter with WNBC.
This continues to be a very complex investigation, and there's a lot of contradictory information out there, but there is some new information this morning from a couple of federal officials and state officials. They say now that there were actually 4 handguns recovered inside the school, not just 2 as we were initially told. 4 handguns, and apparently only handguns, that were taken into the school.
It is important to note that we have discussed with federal authorities that these issues are crimes. They will be investigated statewide and federally, and prosecution will take place when people perpetrating this information are identified. Again, all information relative to this case is coming from these microphones, so any of that information and people that are putting that information up there in any manner, all right, that can be construed as a violation of state or federal law will be prosecuted.
I happened to run across a woman who had tears in her eyes, and she was being led by 2 younger women, and I asked if she was okay. It turns out she was the school nurse at Sandy Hook Elementary. They met eyes, she jumped under her desk, and he inexplicably just walked out. But I did ask if it was known around this school that this young man, apparently a kindergarten teacher's son, was an issue, whether he had any problems, and she said not at all. And I asked if she knew the suspect's mother, and she said she did, and that she was an absolutely loving person.
And people that are putting that information up there in any manner, all right, that can be construed as a violation of state or federal law will be prosecuted, will be investigated and prosecuted. Again, all information relative to this case is coming from these microphones.
Just after 9:30 this morning, Newtown Police received a 911 call for an emergency at the elementary school. Newtown PD, upon obtaining information as to the stature of the situation, contacted the Connecticut State Police and requested assistance from state police and surrounding local police departments. On and off duty troopers responded to the school, and with Newtown Police, immediately upon arrival, entered the school and began a complete active shooter search of the building. That included checking every door, every crack, every crevice, every portion of that school. Our main objective was to evacuate as quickly and efficiently as possible any and all students and faculty in the school. The entire school was searched. That was accomplished. A staging area was set up. The students and staff were put into that staging area, and soon thereafter, the children and staff were reunited with their parents and their loved ones. Upon arrival of law enforcement officers at the school, they immediately entered the school as we knew this was an potential active shooter situation. Their focus was to search for students, faculty, and staff and remove them to a safe area outside of the school. They did search every nook and cranny, every room, and every portion of that school and accomplish that task.
And it wasn't until about 1:15 when somebody was jiggling the door, and but nobody called out. So I decided to be brave enough and open that door into the office, and a lot of state police officers were there at that point, and they were very surprised to see me.
You were in the closet for about 4 hours.
Close to it, yeah. Just fearful.
And we raced into my supply closet and pulled the door closed.
And you were there for the next 4 hours?
Nearly, yeah. It was 1:15 before, you know, we were petrified.
School. His ex-wife was one of them who hid in a closet for hours, but they waited on the walking wounded. No one came.
I got word out that we would, no one else would be coming out of the building.
The families were told the horrific news at the firehouse. A memorial reminds him steps away from their door.
She then went after all of this, and the shooter was at his apex. You were told that she was not around, right? She was dead.
Well, yeah. It became apparent after that, the school had emptied, and she couldn't be found, and as time passed.
It was 4 hours.
It was 4 hours. She was.
Police had told us at that time that there was nobody left alive inside, that they had checked every nook and cranny. Thankfully, they missed one. They missed one with her mom and the nurse in it.
Every door, every crack, every crevice, every portion of that school.
And when they couldn't find their children, fear set in, panic set in, pain set in. It was fear of the unknown. And when the notification finally had to be made, it was absolutely heartbreaking.
You were there at the time?
Yes.
And the governor notified the families that their little 6-year-old or little 7-year-old was dead?
That's correct.
What was it like there?
It's something no one wants to experience. It was just heartbreaking. It's terrible.
The entire school was searched. That was accomplished.
You were told that she was not around, right? She was dead.
Well, yeah.
Misinformation.
I got word out that we would, no one else would be coming out of the building.
They did search every nook and cranny, every room, and every portion of that school and accomplish that task.
They were very surprised to see me.
Or one of the teachers, and I'm not sure which one it was, says that I was still locked in a closet at 1 p.m. when they brought me out, and say she was locked in a closet until 1 p.m. How could that possibly happen?
Well, it wouldn't, because the highly trained, extraordinarily well-trained responding officers that are SWAT units are extraordinarily well organized and trained to clear every nook, every cranny, every hole, and this is their own quote.
Confirmed that from police spokesman Lieutenant Paul Vance. Newton police spokesman is telling Now, CNN has confirmation on our New York desk, that police at Sandy Hook Elementary School responded to that shooting, and the school is now on lockdown, and the kids are not being evacuated.
One thing that's becoming somewhat of a concern, and that is misinformation.
But you said it was the long rifle that was used?
Yes.
But the long rifle was discovered in the car. That's not correct.
It's not correct, sir.
My fiduciary responsibilities, I haven't executed them. Thank you very much.
Putting that information up there in any manner, right, that can be construed as a violation of state or federal law, will be prosecuted, will be investigated and prosecuted. Again, all information relative to this case is coming from these microphones.
That's it. 26 deceased. One injury. One person was injured. Yeah.
Yes, there are. There are two adults that were injured in the facility in the school that suffered gunshot wounds and are recovered.
That's a big deal in news when they start deciding not to show you helicopter footage because of what you might see.
This is an active situation. We are not showing you live pictures because of what we may possibly see.
This is the same CNN that staged Scud attacks that their people were supposedly under with a blue screen.
It is a subject the national media, quite simply, are not going to talk about. That this president has continued a drone strike policy in the war on terror, one that has resulted in the deaths of as many as 214 children in the past 7 years. Granted, he wasn't president all of those years, but the drone strike program has only increased under President Obama. According to the Bureau for Investigative Journalism, since 2004, 176 children have been reportedly killed in just Pakistan. 27 to 35 children killed by drone strike in Yemen. And since 2007, 1 to 3 children killed in Somalia, again as a result of drone strikes. What you need to know is that the number of children killed in Pakistan, Somalia, and Yemen over the past 7 years is nearly 11 times the number of children killed at Sandy Hook Elementary School. The president thought that it was fitting to issue 23 executive orders in order to prevent, he says, another one of these tragedies, even just one more child from being killed. But the fact is, the president could issue one simple order to end the deaths of children around the world by U.S. drone strike. And that is full disclosure.
This might be old news to some, but last year it was confirmed that the U.S. military has been manipulating social media by using fake identities to influence conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. It's called Online Persona Management Services. And under the CENTCOM contract, it allows the creation of up to 10 sock puppet accounts for every U.S. serviceman or woman working on the program. Because the newest version of the 2013 NDAA included an interesting amendment. This amendment legalized domestic propaganda on the American public. You heard me right. The newest NDAA wasn't just reauthorizing the indefinite detention of American citizens. It also allowed the U.S. government to legally carry out misinformation campaigns against the citizens of this country. But is this really surprising to anyone? I mean, the corporate media is basically a propaganda arm of the U.S. government anyways, isn't it? Why the need to legalize the use of propaganda when you already have an entire mainstream media establishment lacking to the White House, reprinting government press releases without question, selling wars, and carrying water for the administration? In fact, aside from everything I just mentioned, the Pentagon already spends $4 billion a year to influence public opinion, and the Department of Defense also spends hundreds of millions of dollars on information campaigns in countless countries occupied by the U.S. military. Perhaps even more disturbing than all of this is the fact that the CIA has already been infiltrating the biggest press institutions since the early 1950s. One has to look no further than Operation Mockingbird, a secret CIA campaign to spread disinformation and false stories to foreign governments during the Cold War. It did this by manipulating the media into focusing on propaganda, sabotage, and subversion. It was later revealed in congressional hearings that the CIA program consisted of literally paying off editors and reporters at most mainstream news outlets. The New York Times, CBS, Time, The Washington Post, Newsweek, AP, Reuters, and countless more.
For firearms, we're working with our federal partners, and we, as I said in my statement, we are analyzing, examining. We'll trace them back to their origin. We'll trace every step of the way, and every time that we can, where they were used, how they were used, to be examined forensically. A great deal of work must be done on those weapons. I'm confident that we will put every single resource that we have into this investigation, and that we will answer every single question that is humanly possible at the conclusion of this case. We'll examine every piece of evidence. We'll speak to every single witness that can have any impact whatsoever on this case. And certainly our goal is to answer every single question. We have not stated what evidence we have and have not collected. I want to make that perfectly clear. How confident am I? We have the best working on this case. We have our major crime detectives, we have federal authorities, we have Newtown investigators. We have everything and everybody focusing on this case. As everyone knows, it's a huge case. We're using every single resource